Hello, boys and girls. Well, have I got a treat for you today? That's right. Why is that? Because I don't know if this is the case in your area, but in my area, there are several family videos that are closing. RIP. Um, and they are having like a whole bunch of liquidation sales because everything must go. And I had been meaning to stop by the one that's nearest to me when I heard that, and I came away with 3 big bags full of Blu-rays and things that I got for dirt cheap, and I'm going to show them off to you today. So why don't we get into it, shall we? But first, need to crack open a can of the drink of Unboxing Champions to get us in the mood. We're gonna need it. But before we get into all that stuff, let me just show you a few quick things. These were both Walmart finds. If you saw my Instagram, you might have seen these, but there's Forces of Nature with Mel Gibson, Kate Bosworth, and Emile Hirsch, and this has got to be one of the worst Photoshop jobs I've ever seen. I don't know what the deal is here, but it looks like Mel Gibson's having a stroke or something. Don't know what the deal is with that, but there you go. That one I got for relatively cheap, and I sold the digital code. And then Mandy here with the slipcover for $5. I was shocked. But I've heard great things about this Nicolas Cage film, and I'm just glad that he's able to embrace more kind of out there films. And then this is an eBay find that came today. I got it for like 20-something bucks. It was dirt cheap relative to what it normally goes for. And that's the Beatles anthology. This is an 8-part documentary series that was originally broadcast in 1995 on TV, and it was meant to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the Beatles breakup and the 15th anniversary of John Lennon's murder. What made it special, on top of it being a really, really thorough, must-watch, in-depth documentary series if you really like the Beatles, not only that, but because this was a multimedia project, it was the television documentary series as well as the 3 anthology albums that came out, and they were all the like outtakes and all the other recordings that were really rare, as well as like 2 brand new recordings that were attributed to the Beatles that were derived from 2 John Lennon demos when he was solo. And so then the 3 at the time, the 3 existing still living Beatles, they collaborated on those demo tracks, and then that way they were able to kind of put out 2 new tracks credited to the Beatles, which was pretty cool. But definitely a must-watch series. So glad to have it back in the collection. I think it's like tip-top as far as not just the Beatles, but just television documentaries in general. Alright, well, I've got 3 big grocery bags full of movies, and I was in such a frenzy when I was grabbing them all that I don't even remember what all I got. So you're going to find out along with me. Or rather, I'll be reminded. Need throat lubrication. So we're going to start with the first bag here, and this is that Marco's Pizza. Because that's part of why Family Video, they were able to keep alive for so long. I mean, they're still around. It's just the ones that are near me are closing because with coronavirus having hit everybody hard, it hit them especially hard. And, they just weren't able to sustain a lot of stores. There was like 163, I think they said, stores closing. But they were able to keep alive through their relationship with Marco's Pizza, and because instead of franchising them out, their parent company was a real estate company, and so they're essentially in the real estate business. And so therefore they had more longevity. But this one was closing, so I just said, hey, I'll take advantage of it while I can. And I got a bunch of movies that were like $1.50 each. So it was like they were ridiculously low prices for Blu-rays, DVDs, anything. So I just thought, hey, why not? So yeah, you're going to remember what all I got along with me. Well, I'll remember and you'll experience it for the first time. So first up, we have The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Now, one thing you'll notice, very few of these had the slipcovers with them, and that was because, well, these are the cases that are used for their these are rental, originally owned obviously by a rental place, so I mean you kind of have to take what you can get, and so I sort of had to bend some of my principles as a slipcover psychopath. So like some of these I'll have to probably track down the slipcover later or who knows what, but the price point was just too good to pass up. I tried to get as many of these that I could that the covers were still okay, because there were a ton of them that were like severely sun damaged, or they had to print out replacement covers, and they were like really painfully obvious. So, so the ones that I got generally were the best of the bunch on that front, but there are a couple in here that are noticeably sun damaged, but, what can you do? Yeah, Killing of a Sacred Deer, still haven't watched it, but I've heard good things, and from the Academy Award-nominated director of The Lobster, Yorgos Lanthimos. And then, we have The Founder here with Michael Keaton, which I know that this was a very critically acclaimed film that didn't really, it got good critical buzz, but it didn't really get a whole lot in the awards circuit for whatever reason. But, that's always such a crapshoot anyway. But it's all about Ray Kroc, who basically kind of commandeered McDonald's from the original founders, and he's the guy who basically took this one restaurant that was doing well, but he took it and transformed it into what we know today as McDonald's, and all the different steps that he had to take to get there that were kind of unethical. But yeah, I'll have to find the slipcover separately on this one. And then we have The Flowers of War. Now, ignore the price stickers here, because the price stickers confuse me to death, because they have what the stickers here, it's what they say that they are, but the price points were quite a bit lower because, again, everything must go. But anyway, and I have not taken the stickers off of this, off of any of these, so you're finding this out along with me. But yeah, Flowers of War with Christian Bale, and it's directed by, I'm surely mispronouncing this, Zhang Yimou, who did, he did Hero, he did House of Flying Daggers, he did The Great Wall, he did a bunch of stuff, but this is, I guess, a drama, like a war drama, and it has Christian Bale in it as well. So definitely eager to check that out, which again, you can tell, with that inner circle there, you can tell that it was a, rental copy. Next up, we got Everly with Selma Hayek. I wanted to see this for quite a while, but the price point was never that good, enough to make me want to take a plunge, but because it was so dirt cheap, I was like, yeah, why not? And I don't think this has a slipcover with it normally, but I could be wrong. But I like Selma Hayek a lot. I think she's kind of an underappreciated talent. And then we got The Guest, which I heard good things about. This one I know for sure has a slipcover, but I'll hunt it down as best as I can. And this one, I heard good things about it from the creators of You're Next, and if I recall, I don't know if it was for this movie. I want to say it might have been, but it could have been for another one that Dan Stevens was in. But and here's another downside with these rentals here. So it says Blu-ray DVD, but if it's in the Blu-ray section, then they only have the Blu-ray. So just have to. That's just something you have to accept. But again, the price point's so ridiculously competitive. It's like, why not? But if I recall, I think it might have been for this movie, but it could have been for a different one. But I know that there was an interview with Dan Stevens. I think it was on UK TV, either UK or Australian TV. I can't remember. But the the female news, the talk show host, it was a daytime television show, she said quite obliviously as to what she was saying. She said, "You must have had to beat off a lot of American men to get this role." And then he's like cracking up, the male co-host is cracking up, and she's like, "Why does that make you giggle? Did you not have to beat them off?" Love it. I love it when people are not at all aware of what they're saying. And then we got... no, it's not Zhang Yimou, it's Wong Kar Wai, which I know I'm horribly butchering these names, but we got a reunion of, well, actually not a reunion, we got just another film with Ji Zhang in a martial arts role, and that is The Grandmaster. And I guess that it was something that Martin Scorsese must have brought over here, because it says Martin Scorsese Presents. Kind of like what Heroes said with, when he, Quentin Tarantino, I guess, helped to kind of bring Hero over to the U.S. And he also did that with Iron Monkey as well. But anyway, this is the, however long it is, the 108-minute version that... we got in the United States, which I believe that there's a longer one that is in its native, either China or Hong Kong, I can never remember. But in its native country, I know that there's a longer version that's supposed to be better, but this is the one we got, and I've seen this movie and I really liked it, because it's about the guy who trained Bruce Lee, and he plays Ip Man, which I, again, don't hate me if I mispronounce the names, which I'm sure I will. But yeah, there's a ton of movies about Ip Man, and this is one of them, and it's a very good one. We got two movies back to back here. Been trying to get into, partially due to my research into like Canadian culture, which I think that this might be either, I want to say at least like a Canadian co-production, but I could be wrong. If nothing else, it touches on hockey quite heavily, of course, and that's a big deal in Canada, but I wanted to check these two out, and we got Goon, the first one, and now, as you can tell, this one is pretty badly sun damaged on the slip, because look, see the difference between those two? But again, it's like, what can you do, really? You have to ask yourself, like, how badly sun damaged is it? And, is it acceptable? Is it, I haven't seen this one or the sequel. I haven't really seen them all that readily visible, such that, I wouldn't want to go for them. But anyway, yeah, so that's the first one. I know it's like a... so this is a Canadian film there. So anyway, because it has the Canada thing in the back and the Quebec, film thing, Telefilm Canada. So yeah, it counts. Anyway, the first Goon, as well as the second one without the slip, which I'll have to track it down somehow. But yeah, I wanted to check these out as part of my cultural research. And again, says it has a DVD, but does not. But again, price point was so low, you just gotta go for it. And, it's always good to get, more sports movies and things that I wouldn't normally get in the collection, just to expand my horizons. And then next up, this one I've seen around with the slipcover for cheap, but this version of it without the slip was even cheaper, and that is Dying of the Light, the Nicolas Cage and Paul Schrader film that, one of a couple. And this one, I know I can track down the slipcover for this pretty easily. And I know that this film is supposed to not be very good, largely because the version of it that Paul Schrader wanted, I guess it was very edited down and re-edited by Lionsgate or whatever, like they mandated it, and so his intended version never got out there, and I guess that it was like a big point of controversy. And anyway, part of my quest to get the rest of Nicolas Cage's filmography in the collection. And then next up is a film that everyone hates, and I can kind of sort of understand why, but not 100%. Because the thing that bothered everybody about this film didn't really bother me, and that is the Dublin Side. The thing that really bothered people about this film was the fact that it apparently like ends really abruptly, and I've seen it, and it's only like an hour and a half long. Could it have been an extra half hour longer? Could it have gone on for longer than it did? Yes. Does it end abruptly? Yes, but a lot of found footage movies do. I personally, I don't really think it necessarily ended unsatisfactorily. Now, it's not the best found footage movie ever made, and I can understand why, like, non-found footage enthusiasts, just the casual audience, why they might have been really pissed. And apparently there were, like, a lot of videos circulating YouTube, like, when this came out. Because this was, like, a January release, but it, like, really, it kind of decimated the competition because it was a, slow month. But it was such that I guess there were a lot of videos circulating around of people, like, actively getting angry in the theater and, like, shouting at the screen because of the abrupt ending. But, I don't know. I think it's better than that. Again, it's not the best one ever that I've ever seen, but, like, it's Fernanda Andrade is the leading lady in this, and she does a really good job. I think the acting as a whole is pretty good. It's just more so that perhaps you could say it doesn't fully develop its ideas. And you could definitely say that on top of there being a kind of abrupt ending. Yeah, this could have been longer, more developed. I think there's more to it than people necessarily thought, but again, I wouldn't, like, defend it with my dying breath or anything like that. I like found footage movies more than most people do. Now, this is one that I think, this one also had some pretty bad sun damage on the cover, but it wasn't as bad as others, and some of the ones that I got that I knew were sun damaged, I tried to get ones that, it wasn't too bad, or the cover in some ways was almost kind of helped by the fact that it was sun damaged, and I'll show you what I mean. Haunter with Abigail Breslin there. Now, notice the difference between how colorful, comparatively speaking, that is versus this. Now, it's a little faded, but it's not too bad. And if anything, okay, so here's a little comparison. So there's the cover there. There's the disc art. So, like, this clearly has more saturation, and this is a bit more faded, but I will say that if anything, it kind of makes it look a little creepier because it's more ghostly, shall we say. But yeah, I'm glad that Abigail Breslin, now that she's grown up and everything, she's, coming more into her own as an actress, so that's good. But I've been wanting to see this for quite a while, and yeah, if anything, I do think the fadedness of the cover here, it doesn't hurt it in any way, and in fact, the desaturated look, I think, kind of helps it. And then we got a movie that I remembered seeing the trailer for, and I remembered thinking, man, that looks so creepy and cool. And apparently it was pretty darn good, but I just never saw it, and I'm glad that I managed to find it again for really cheap, and that is this movie called Night Moves, which, if I recall, yeah, these are these three radical environmentalists coming together to execute the most intense protests of their lives, the explosion of a hydraulic dam, which, that's pretty cool. And, because, let me tell you, oh, and then what's also cool is that it has a reversible cover there, too. Because let me tell you, eco-terrorism is a very real thing, and it's something that hasn't really been done to death in movies, and so it's nice to see a movie devoted to that, because, yeah, it is a very real thing, and it's a very destructive thing. Next up, this is a movie that I heard good things about, Killer Joe, and apparently it's got a really creepy performance from Matthew McConaughey, and it's a William Friedkin film, one of his kind of late period works, and I do believe that there's a slipcover for this, but I if there is, then I haven't really seen it very readily available. But yeah, I've heard really good things about this. Glad to have it in the collection. But I like the font too, it's pretty creepy. Next up, this is one that I know has a slipcover, and I might be able to track it down. I hope that I can. And that is for Kill Me 3 Times with our dear Teresa Palmer and Simon Pegg. And I know that there's a slip for this. I might be able to find it. I'll just have to look for it. But yeah, I heard pretty good things about this one. And then we got another Nicolas Cage film, The Runner, and that one I know has a slip, and I think it might be pretty easy to find, but I'll have to track it down. I don't know how much longer we'll have on a lot of the kind of Nicolas Cage direct-to-DVD and Blu-ray, films of whatever sort. I don't know how much longer we'll have on that period, because, again, he took these roles largely to pay off debt. But at the same time, like, I watched Between Worlds the other night, and these kinds of more weird, avant-garde, off-the-beaten-track kind of roles, they've allowed him to do what he's always loved to do, which is experiment. And he wouldn't really be able to do that if he was stuck in, like, just, big budget mainstream mode, like he was in, like, the 90s and most of the 2000s. So, I mean, if anything, I think that his acting muscles are getting stretched, and he's allowing himself to do things he wouldn't normally do. Next up is, I guess it's pronounced Sleight, because when you say sleight of hand, I guess it's spelled like that. It looks like slate, or like a sleigh or something, but it isn't. I know that there's a slip for this, and I'll have to track it down, but I heard really, really good things about this, and this was a Blumhouse Tilt production, and it was also WWE Studios, but it was something that they just acquired for distribution, so there's no wrestlers in it. Because normally that's the whole point of WWE films, is that they're meant to kind of showcase their wrestlers, obviously. But in that case, it was just a distribution deal, but I heard really good things about that one. And then this one I know has a slip, and I think it might be relatively easy to find. But this was a Margot Robbie film that I wanted to see, and it kind of came out at around the same time, 2017, and it's Goodbye Christopher Robin, and it came out at around the same time as Disney's Winnie the Pooh, or Disney's Christopher Robin, which I want to say, wasn't that 2018? It was like really close after this. And that was about, basically showing Christopher Robin growing up and kind of rediscovering his imaginative roots with his toys, his animals. And this is more about A.A. Milne, which I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's more about the real story of him, A.A. Milne, who wrote the books on which Disney's Winnie the Pooh is based, and it was also just about his relationship with his son, who, if I recall, he kind of had a pretty bad life as a result of his father having basically, named his character Christopher Robin after his son. So that is bag number 1 out of the way. I gotta take a drink. These unboxings, they force me to drink. Alright, next up, opening up this bag. Next up, we have a movie that I remembered everybody really dug, and I was kind of disappointed with it at the time, but I haven't seen it in such a long time. I did not see it in actually, no, I did see it in theaters, but I did not see it in 3D. In IMAX 3D like everyone else did, which I heard the 3D was good, but I just didn't do it, and it should be a good movie regardless if it's in 3D or not, but this was something that I remembered everybody couldn't stop raving about, but nobody talks about it anymore, which is Gravity. And this is just the normal Blu-ray of it, even without the slip. I'm kind of hoping that a 4K comes out of it, or something. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but this was so dirt cheap that I was like, well, this will do for now. until, you know, a better version of it comes out. Or, you know, I wanted to get the 3D version even though I don't have a 3D television yet. But whatever, you know, it's just a good way to kind of, you know, it's a placeholder. Maybe it'll get a 4K, maybe, I don't know what, Criterion will put it out, or who knows what. I just remembered I was kind of disappointed by it because I didn't really see a whole lot of deep meaning in it at the time. Now, granted, it was a 2013 film, and I've said this before, but a lot of 2013 films, I just had to basically give myself a mulligan and watch them again later because it was just a bad year for me. And so I wasn't really able to judge a lot of movies fairly, but in that case I remembered thinking like everybody was getting some kind of deep meaning out of it, and outside of some visual ideas of like a baby in the womb when she first gets into the ship, into the space station, and she's in zero gravity and she looks like she's in a womb, and then you know, when she lands it's almost like the evolution of man and stuff, you know. I got all that, but it just, that seemed to be about it. It seemed to be a lot of style and not a lot of substance, at least to me. And I know I wasn't alone in thinking that, but it, nonetheless, it was, for me anyway, it was kind of a disappointment. But I could be just way off my mark on that. And I'm just taking off some of these stickers while I'm talking to you. Now, here's a good example of sun destruction. Look at that. So this was a sticker right here. That's what it's supposed to look like, but it's really just sun bleached like crazy, and it's called Hell. But again, I thought this actually made it look kind of cooler. That's just me. But, so yeah, sometimes these sun damages can result in a halfway decent looking cover that's a little bit better than the other one, but sometimes not. And the grand majority of these ones that were not in great shape, well, it also has tears and stuff too, but the grand majority of these ones that were not in great shape, see, that's what it's supposed to look like. You know, the grand majority of these ones that were not in very good shape because of the sun damage, they were like almost beyond recognition, and so I was like, nope, not gonna do that. And yeah, so the ones that I'm showing you right now, these are like the best of the best. And again, I tried to avoid ones that had a lot of sun damage, or that had like a obviously fake, or obviously printed off of cheap printer paper and poorly cut out, you know, cover, because they must have, like, I don't know what, the original cover wasn't there. Now, I do believe that this cover actually is, see, it's kind of cut off a little prematurely, so I think that maybe they might have, you know, gotten it from another source or whatever. But again, it's like, it was so cheap and it wasn't like too egregious that I was like, well, okay, I'll go for it. And again, it's like any of these that I see and I don't end up liking, it's not like I can't use them for trade-in credit or something, because it's not like I was out much money for any one of these. But yeah, just tells you that as much as many of us, myself included, do have nostalgia for the video store, there are some notable drawbacks, one of which is the sun damage. You know, you don't ever think about that, and nobody ever talks about it, but it's a very real thing. Next up, this is one that is, I guess, really out of print, because if you try to look for this online, it is ridiculously expensive, so I'm glad I found it, which was La Valantula on DVD. And I think it's expensive because Alchemy must have gone out of business, but I believe that this was, or was this an Asylum film? Well, it's from Sci-Fi. Yeah, okay, so it wasn't actually it was not an Asylum film, but it was a Sci-Fi original movie. I remembered that the intention of it was to try to kind of capitalize on the magic, try to recreate the magic of Sharknado with La Valantula. And supposedly I thought it was like supposed to be like a spin-off or something, like it had some kind of canonical connection, but I could be totally wrong on that. I just, it was something that I remember really wanting to see it, and then it must have gone out of print because it was like really, really overpriced. It was like $80 or something, and this was like $1.99 or something, which that's about what it's worth, I think. Next up is the Humanity Bureau with Nicolas Cage. I know that there's a slip for this. I'll probably have to track it down somehow. This was one that I remembered seeing on Sean C. Phillips' dollar store, his Dollar Tree video not too long ago. I tried to look for it and I couldn't find it at my Dollar Tree. My Dollar Trees had pretty crappy selection, but I'm glad I found it there. Still got to find the slip for it though. Same with this one, Fruitvale Station, which I have to say this was one of my favorites of 2013, despite, again, it was a very bad year for me. But this one I think was a very intelligent film about, race relations. It felt a lot more sincere, and it felt like it wasn't being especially manipulative or movie-ish or anything. Like, it felt very, very real, and again, this was kind of a star-making role for Michael B. Jordan, and a star-making film for Ryan Coogler, who went on to do Creed and Creed 2 and Black Panther and all kinds of great stuff from then on. Really great talent behind the camera, great talent in front of the camera. I just remembered really, really liking this film because I felt like it felt very not movie-ish. It just felt very real, and I liked that a lot. And it was able to speak about these really pressing issues that we're still talking about today, as far as like police brutality and disproportionately black people getting killed by police officers and stuff. It was able to talk about that issue, but in a way that, again, it just felt so sincere and genuine, and it didn't really feel like it was manipulative or anything like that, because that's such a delicate issue that you got to do it right in order for it to hit as intended. Moving right along. This was one that never heard of it, but it was something that, just based on the title, I was like, yeah, why not? And it's called Day of the Living Dead on DVD, and it looks like it's got zombies and gangsters in 1957. Insurance investigator George Lazarus, and yeah, it looks like one of those things that it's like, the indie world. I was talking about this to the checkout people at Family Video. I was talking to him about it, and the one guy that was working there basically just said, silent films are terrible and blah, 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 which, I basically made the point that when you're dealing with low-budget movies, yeah, you can get a lot of crap, but they'll be able to tackle things that a big studio would never think to do, or they're able to do more out there ideas or do them in a more audacious way because there's not as much money on the line. And so that you would never get a Lavalantula or a Sharknado or a, Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark or anything like that. You would never get that out of a major studio, with the possible exception of something like The Meg, but that's like a really, really rare thing. But yeah, I was arguing for the virtues of those low-budget films just because they're able to pave the way for, what the mainstream will perhaps eventually catch on to, and oftentimes they do if they expect to advance the medium in any way. Next up, we got a film that I wanted to see, and I heard good things about it, and apparently Kristen Stewart does a good job in this film, and it's the adaptation of Jack Kerouac's On the Road, and it was directed by Walter, is that Sales? However you pronounce that. I have heard good things about this. I have to admit that I've not read any Jack Kerouac, which is a very sad thing, but I will probably read the book eventually, preferably before I see the movie. And this is another one. It says Quebec and Government of Alberta, so it was clearly another one that was at least shot in Canada. But yeah, I heard good things about this, and I know that both Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, they've been really working hard to kind of show people that they really can act, because I know that they did not get very charitable reviews upon their time with the Twilight franchise, but it helped make them into the stars that they are, and I just think that they're working really hard to show what they're really made of, and especially with our dear Robert Pattinson being the new Batman, even though he has obviously he's fallen ill because of testing positive for coronavirus, so hopefully he makes a speedy recovery, and that way they can get back to the movie. And then next up, this is a movie I've wanted to see ever since I saw the trailer for it, and I have basically heard this movie described, and the trailer definitely made it look like this, and I guess that it is like this, but it's Revolutionary Road, and I've heard it described as Titanic 2 if Jack had lived. And this one also looks like it's a little sun damaged, but it's not too bad. This is one that you always see very cheap in different stores, but it was just one of those ones where I never really took the plunge until now, just because the price point was so low. But yeah, I've heard good things about this, and this was a Sam Mendes film, which he's kind of an underappreciated director, I think, despite getting a lot of critical acclaim and having won Best Director for his... He won Best Director for his feature film debut, which was American Beauty. He had a lot of experience on the stage, but yeah, his debut feature film, he wins Best Director. And he went on to make Skyfall, one of the best James Bond films. And I guess he did Spectre, which I never saw, and I'll have to see it eventually. And then we got a martial arts film here with Pitbull in it, I guess, called Blood Money. So there you go. I have no clue if this has a slipcover. I would assume that it does, but I really don't know. But yeah, I'm trying to get some more martial arts back in the collection, and seems like a good way to do that. I don't know why some of these, they have an excessive amount of tape on them. I don't know why. But yeah, it's called Blood Money there. And yeah, you'll find a lot of these martial arts films that are put out by like Turbo by Accelerator, or like Wellgo USA, or a whole bunch of different ones. And then this is a movie that I remembered seeing. This is probably the most egregious when it comes to sun damage, but again, I feel like the cover's actually kind of helped out by the fact that it is sun damaged, and that's Always Watching a Marble Hornet Story, and that is the I can't remember if this has a slipcover or not. I feel like it does, but yeah, see, that's the color it's supposed to be. But I think that that's kind of more fitting for the Slender Man, don't you? Kind of that blank white color. And this was a film that, again, it was a feature film adaptation or spin-off or whatever of the Marble Hornets web series. And the Slender Man in here is referred to as the operator, because I guess that technically Slender Man is under copyright by his creator. But yeah, it was a web series that was very critically acclaimed, and I guess that the movie wasn't really as acclaimed. I only saw the movie, and it was alright. I started watching the web series. I gotta finish it, though. It's one of those things that I think, the hype for it was more so when it was first coming out, and the fact that it ran so long. But yeah, I can't remember if this has a slip or not. I'll have to look it up. Next up, one of the better late period Steven Spielberg films, because Steven Spielberg, I like his contemporary Martin Scorsese. He's a rare one in the sense that I think that his films have actually gotten better overall as he's gotten older, because I feel like he really embraces film technology and uses it and storytelling. He uses both of them in a way that makes him kind of stand out among his fellow filmmakers from his same era. Spielberg, on the whole, I don't think that he, which I just realized that this doesn't have a cover here, but it's Lincoln. This is one of the better later period Steven Spielberg films, and I remembered, I thought it was pretty good. It was a little slow. I mean, it's very kind of academic in its approach to how the, what was it, the 13th Amendment? Yeah, it was, yeah, I'll look it up. But anyway, yeah, so I remembered liking it. It was kind of long, kind of academic, a little dry, but it is a very good film, I think, for history students to watch, because I think that they did their homework very nicely when it came to kind of understanding the politics of the period. And you know, Daniel Day-Lewis, he deserved his third Best Actor Oscar, and a great slip here. I wish I could find that. I might be able to recreate it, or who knows what. Again, it was so dirt cheap, it's like you kind of got to accept little imperfections and things. And this was a asylum film that was meant to capitalize on Edge of Tomorrow. And this one, I think, has some sun damage on it, but it's not too bad. And that's called Age of Tomorrow. The case is kind of torn, but again, it's like you kind of, and it's a little cracked. The plastic's a little cracked, so it leads me to believe that it's quite probably sun damage. But again, a case can be easily replaced, so I'm not too worried about that. It says it's Prometheus meets Predator, even though, again, it was the title and the timing of it was meant to capitalize on Edge of Tomorrow. But, you know, that's how it goes. And look at all, hang on, look at all this white crap. That's awful. I'm gonna have to vacuum when this is all done. But, anyway, yeah, Asylum's Age of Tomorrow. And yeah, look at this. It's like disintegrating before my eyes. Yeah, I'll have to replace the case probably. Anyway, last up for this bag is Night Feeders, which this was actually a locally filmed, in the Charlotte area, a locally filmed sci-fi horror film that a local film luminary, Bert Hess, he was an executive producer on this one. He was the one that was, you know, getting the studio to be built around here. And yeah, so I'm glad to have this back in the collection. And then last bag, see what all we got in here. Let's start off with this one because it's in a red case here. This one is one that the plastic's coming off of it too. Again, you kind of got to take these things as they come. But this is a late period Brian De Palma film called Passion. And it's one that I have not seen, but I'll check it out. I just like that it came in a red case. I don't know if it has a slip or not. I'll have to find out. I've got so much of that one case is like disintegrated before my very eyes, and now I'm gonna have to clean myself up. This is a very good, very underrated film that I'll need to track down the slip for this again. I really love this film, and that is Top 5, the Chris Rock film that he directed and stars in and does a great job of acting in, and really good kind of semi-autobiographical film. Great kind of commentary on what happens when comedians reach a certain age, and how they're perceived to not be funny, and they sort of have to do a lot of those, kiddie movies and stuff. Next up is Sword of Vengeance, Well Go USA film. I know this has a slip. I'll have to check it out, or, well, I'll have to look for it and check the movie out. I always like trying to track down a lot of these more indie or more, non-USA epic films. We got the first Tekken film, which is pretty sweet. I know that there's a sequel. I'll have to track it down, and there might be a slip for this one. I don't know. See, I got a lot of research to do on that, but anyway, I know that Tekken did get those 2 live-action feature film adaptations. I really liked the Tekken games. A lot of people do, obviously. Anybody that's, has nostalgia for the PlayStation and just fighting games in general. will enjoy Tekken. I'm just eager to see what the movie has in store. It's probably not good, but whatever. Next up, this is a film I don't know if this has a slip or not. I don't think so. But this is one that I have seen, and it's been a while since I have seen it, but it is another Nicolas Cage film, Outcast, with Hayden Christensen. And it's mostly a Hayden Christensen film, but Nicolas Cage is in it enough to be entertaining. And this is a film, I think it's got kind of an interesting premise. It's about these crusaders, these knights from wherever they were, I think England, and they basically they desert their army and they go east to, I want to say China, and they get into some adventures there. And then we got The Zero Theorem, which is a Terry Gilliam film with Christoph Waltz. And again, I don't know if this has a slip or not. But yeah, Terry Gilliam, he always does films that are very off the beaten path. And it's another Well Go USA film. And eager to check that out. And what else do we have? We've got Parker with Jennifer Lopez and our dear Jason Statham. And heard some decent things about this one, I think. The price point is such that it's like, well, why not? And, I love J-Lo. I think maybe she doesn't always get the best parts, but I think that as an actress, I think she's got more potential than people necessarily think. And then we got, this is, I don't know which installment this is in the series, but I know that it is an installment in the series, and that's Outpost, and it's Black Sun, these like Nazi zombie horror films here. Yeah, I gotta figure out, like, what order they all go in and, all that stuff. But again, dirt cheap. It was, like, $1.99. We got the 2019 Black Christmas. I still gotta find the slip for that. This was one that I had been meaning to get, been meaning to watch it. I heard pretty bad things about it, but, I have the original on Blu-ray from Scream Factory, and I have the 2006 remake on DVD, so there you go. I'll have to track down the slip for that. And probably wait until Christmas time to watch it. And next up, I think this probably has a slip as well. And I actually heard pretty good things about this one. It's a French fantasy film, and it's the 2015 Beauty and the Beast, directed by Christophe Gans, who did the first Silent Hill film. He's a French director, and I heard pretty good things about this one. There have been so many versions of Beauty and the Beast, not just the Disney one, but there was like the Jean Cocteau one. There have been a ton of them. And then this is one that, again, I know that there's a slip for this one. I bet I can probably find it pretty cheap, and I've heard nothing but horrible things about this film at its Cell, which is a Stephen King adaptation, and yeah, I heard it's really bad, but again, it was super cheap. I can always sell it if it's shit, and not necessarily, like, entertaining shit, because there are two different kinds of shit. There's entertaining shit, and there's awful shit. So we'll see which kind that is. And then we got, this is a film that was done by the director of Clown, who later went on to be the director of Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, and that was John Watts. And this is a film that I think was one of the factors that got him the job. I know it has a slip, I'll have to find it, and that's Cop Car with Kevin Bacon. And heard good things about this one, but I have not watched it yet. And so I'll be eager to check it out. And then we got, this is one that I was looking at through a Canadian seller, but I just managed to find it for even cheaper than it was going for on that person's eBay store. And it's a Jeffrey Dean Morgan action film called The Courier, which I believe it's a little bit sun damaged, but again, it's not too atrocious looking. And it's one that, we'll see how it goes. I really like Jeffrey Dean Morgan as an actor. I think he's very, very underappreciated, or at least he was, prior to Watchmen and especially to The Walking Dead. We got a film that I know has a slip. I've heard good things about it, and it was actually written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, and that is Molly's Game. And I know nothing about it, to be honest. I'm eager to go into it blind, but I love Aaron Sorkin, so there you go. We're approaching the end. We got a film that is a Noah Baumbach film. I really like Noah Baumbach of the films that I've seen of his. I have not seen all of them yet, but I want to see more of his filmography because I love The Squid and the Whale. I loved the Meyerowitz stories. Still need to see Marriage Story, but this one is called While We Are Young. And it's got Ben Stiller, it's got Adam Driver, it's got Amanda Seyfried, it's got a bunch of people. And I heard good things about it, so be able to check it out. And we got two more. What could they be? This is one that I know has a slip. I never finished this film, but it was Project Almanac, which was the sci-fi found footage time travel film by the director of the 2017 Power Rangers, Dean Israelite, which, I don't know, I just found that funny. So that one I'll have to track down the slip for that. And then finally, last but not least, we have a movie called Wild Horses, which has Robert motherfucking Duvall, which, that alone makes it worth it. And, so I think it's like a neo-western or something, but anyway, that is what I got at Family Video. Did a Family Video close near you? Let me know in the comments below, and if so, let me know what you got and show it off. So if you like this, then please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon, set phasers to stun, warp factor 5. I will see you in the next video. I'm going to do my first commentary track before too long while I give my voice a chance to rest and as I finish my drink of Unboxing Champions. So continue to stay safe, everyone.